Hello everybody, I am here today with a long overdue book talk. I really should have filmed this forever ago and my phone is chirping very loudly in the background right now. The book I'm going to be talking about today is actually an independently published book that the author was kind enough to provide me with a free copy of, and that book is The Tales of the Zodiac, The Goat's Tale by PJ Hetherhouse. See that full disclosure? Yes. The Tales of the Zodiac is the first book in what promises to be a very long series because PJ says that he's going to do a book for every sign in the Zodiac, and as we know, there are 12 signs in the Zodiac, 13 if you count Fire Kiss, but you know what? We don't really do that here in America, so let's keep going. The Goat's Tale is the story of a young man named Gruffydd. He is the son of a goat herd, and he is allowed by a scholarship to go to a school with the sons of the nobility of the land that he lives in. Gruff is gruff. Like, that is the most appropriately named character I have ever met in my life. He is so angry. That boy has a serious chip on his shoulder, but you know what? We'll get to that in a minute. The book itself is described by PJ Hetherhouse as being a blend of Celtic lore, Arthurian mythology, and, you know, Zodiac mythos. I am not very well versed in Arthurian legend or Celtic mythology, not like I used to be anyway. A long time ago, I didn't know all this stuff. I just almost cussed and I stopped myself. But even with that being the case, some of the most fun that I had while reading this book, and I think part of the charm of this book, is picking out what characters and other story elements like settings, plot lines, foreshadowing points, you know, things like that, came from what parts of what set of mythos, if that makes any sense to you. Like, it was super fun for me, especially to pick out or try to guess which characters were going to be inspired by the Zodiac, because that's the thing with these books. Every Zodiac sign is going to eventually turn into a character. So clearly I was the best at pointing out the Zodiac elements of the story, but you know what? I caught on to a few Arthurian people as well, and a few Arthurian plots as well. The book is set in a future Earth that I'm actually very intrigued by. It's at least 1,000 years in the future from right now. The world has been kind of destroyed and remade by mankind through a series of wars. There are a lot of things that we have right now in the present day that are no longer in existence in the world of the Goat's Tale, like oil, petroleum and oil are the same thing. Technology, things like that no longer exist. The world has actually reverted back to a European feudal system of government. There's a king. He has, you know, a court with lords, ladies, nobles, knights, all that jazz. And Gruff, like I said earlier, is part of the lower society, the dregs, I guess, of humankind, because he's the son of a goat herd. He wakes up in the morning, eats some goat, goes home in the afternoon, eats some goat. Like, that's just what he does. But really, the world has seriously regressed to this medieval kind of place where it's just like back in the olden days, where you're born in one place, you die in one place. You don't really travel much or see a lot of the world. You live within the walls of your city and you're happy about it. That's just the way things are. There are also no more accurate maps of the world because no one's really traveled beyond their own borders in thousands of years, and I find that to be absolutely fascinating. There's like one map that's mostly right. But even it's still not 100% accurate, and no one's really bothered about going about and exploring the world except for the king of the town that Gruffydd lives in. He's a douche bro. But since no one bothers to travel outside their own borders anymore, there are no more accurate maps, and when Gruff leaves his city and comes back, he becomes the first person to leave and return, but mostly to leave in centuries. There are some things from this world that have survived, though, mostly things like religions, particularly Christianity in this case. In the town where Gruff lives, everyone's a Christian, and the English language. Gruff speaks English. I'm assuming that the land that he lives on is some sort of British Isle type thing. I didn't really like develop a clear method or like a clear image of where, in accordance to what the world looks like today, his land would be like, but you know what, that's beside the point. The author also uses the number 12 as the lucky number for quests, and I thought that was super duper interesting because the point of the book is that Gruff gets sent on a mission to find the Son of God and bring him back to the city where he lives. And by Son of God, I don't mean Jesus. that's well beside the point. It's just that there's a legend that there's a son of God somewhere out in the universe, and he is tasked with bringing him back because he defied the king. It's basically a suicide mission that the king sends him on because he defied him, and he needs him out of the way but can't just openly behead him because that would create a lot of civil unrest. So 12 people are set out on this quest in groups of 2, and I thought that was very cool because, you know, he's sent off on this mission to find the Son of God. There are 12 disciples. 12 is the lucky number for quests. Y'all know how I feel about religious symbolism. I love it. The book is not written in an epistolary form, but as I was reading it, it did feel like I was reading Gruff's journal or diary, whatever it is that he would be using to kind of keep track of his long journey to find the Son of God and bring him back to the city where he lives in. This book spans about 2 years. I mean, there's a lot of time jumping, so you don't really realize that much time is passing, but it covers a lot of ground. The writing is also very heavy from the jump. Like from page 1, you're hit with a lot of just, it's heavy language, and there's a reason for it to be heavy language. I kind of hinted at earlier that Gruff is kind of a gruff dude. He has a very big chip on his shoulder. He takes himself way too seriously. Gruff's kind of philosophy on life is that he is an island, and as long as he can survive on his own, he is all good. But as we all know, no one can really survive on their own, and that's really the point of this book. Gruff has to learn to depend on other people. He can't always depend on himself to get himself out of the situations that he got himself in, because 1, he got himself into this like terrible suicide mission in the first place. 2, he doesn't really know anything about the outside world, so he's having to lean on people that are older and more experienced than him because he's only like 16 at the start of this book, and he's also having to learn to depend on people that have lived outside of the city walls, including people that are considered to be savages, I guess, by the more civilized, quote unquote, I say civilized, I don't really mean civilized, world that he's used to living in. So as Gruff kind of grows up and gets over himself, because seriously that boy is he's his own biggest hurdle. As he grows up and gets over himself, the writing in the book lightens up to match how he feels about his own sense of independence and his own sense of self. Honestly, that's a very important part of this book, the lesson that you're not going to get very far in life if you think you're an island and you can do everything on your own and you only want to live by your own rules and you refuse to bend to the world around you. Also, there's the lesson that you can't do everything on your own no matter how self-sufficient and enlightened you think you are. Like, not only are you not going to have a lot of fun, but you're going to get yourself into some pretty tight spots. And you might even get yourself killed. I'm just saying, you're not going to get very far in life trying to be an island 100% of the time. There is one thing that I have to point out because I'm me and y'all know I'm obsessed with this kind of thing. Not really obsessed, but I think it's important to point these things out. The main character of this book, Gruff, is not a 16-year-old white boy in a medieval setting. He's a 16-year-old brown boy in a medieval setting. And you know what? That makes me really happy. It does. I'm not even being funny. That does make me happy because I don't remember the last time I read a book where a brown boy was in a fantasy setting and he was the main character. I honestly don't remember the last time I read a book in general where a brown boy was the main character. So shout out to PJ Hetherhouse. If you think that The Goat's Tale sounds interesting, I will leave links below to the Amazon account where you can purchase an electronic copy. I will leave links to PJ's blog. I will leave links to my review on Book-Monger. All the usual stuff is down below in the box. You guys leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think about this. I don't know. I would also like to thank PJ for reaching out to me and providing me with a free ebook copy of The Goat's Tale. I really appreciate that. I know how hard it is for an independent author. Well, I don't know from experience, but I can imagine how hard it is for an independent author to continuously have to give out free copies of their opus because you got to get the word out somehow, and people are not very inclined to just say, oh yes, I will give you money for this thing I've literally never heard of. Thank you, PJ. I appreciate it. I really hope you're able to continue this series because I'm very intrigued to see where the rest of this will go. Until next time, book people. Bye!